Aloha, welcome to Maui Source TV. I'm Lisa Jones, Millionaire Medium, along with my co-host Eric T. Richter, publisher and editor of Maui Vision magazine. Today we're interviewing an exceptional young man, Matteo Musso, and his mom, Annette.
13-year-old Matteo Musso is a poet, published author, artist, and heart-opening spiritual teacher. That's quite a list of accomplishments. Welcome, Matteo and Annette.
Thank you. T-H-U. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic. What makes Matteo even more amazing is that he was diagnosed with autism as a young child and has been unable to verbally communicate for most of his life. It's only been within the past 2 years that he's found his voice using a letterboard system. He's now able to communicate with his family and friends and share his wisdom. Matteo has some really wonderful heightened skills and highly unusual gifts that most of us neurotypicals don't have. We'll get more into that later when we interview Annette about her trials and tribulations of finding help and how she's now using wisdom she's gained to help other families affected by autism. So, Matteo, what do you think of Maui so far?
W-E-L-L, well, A-L, well, it's magical.
Oh, that's perfect.
What a great response. That's great, Matteo. Lisa and I are both fascinated with your spiritual connection and want to hear more. From what we understand, God came to you when you were 18 months old and asked if he sent you a friend if you'd share his messages with the world. You agreed, and then God sent you Jesus Christ to be your constant companion. Is this how it happened?
Y-E, yes, S-O-R, sort, oh, yes, sort of, I-W-A,
Wow.
I-G-R-E, I just agreed, B-U-W-H-E, when I-L-O-S, lost, A-E-T. I realized this was going to be harder than I could have imagined.
Wow.
I-R-I-E-N-D. Couldn't make friends. A-N. And that's when I asked God for a favor back.
Mm-hmm.
C-A. Can.
Friend.
Friend.
Yes.
Who?
Who. B-E-S. Best.
I-T.
B-U-D-D. My best buddy.
Cool.
That's amazing. Before I go on with the next question, did you want to explain just a little bit about what's happening with the letter system?
Sure. So all I'm doing is holding the board here. Matteo is flying around the letterboard, as you can see. If you hear me say move your hand or find it or finish your thought, that's an auditory prompt to help keep him focused on getting to the next letter. It's not to guide him to any specific letter. I'm holding the board as stiff as humanly possible.
Right.
So that's, we compete with the inner stims or stimulation that's going on in one's brain. We all have them, right? But in autism, that can be one of the biggest challenges. So we want to keep competing with them as much as possible. So that's why I go to that type of thing.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. So let me get back to Matteo here. So what is it like when you're communicating with Jesus? Do you hear words or do you sense the presence of God? Tell me what it's like to communicate with them.
Keep going.
W-E-L-L, well, E, feel, T-H, the, E-N-E-R-G, the energy, S-O-M, in, W-H-E, when, I'm, O-W, blown, A-W-A, away, W-I-T, with, L-O-V, love,
Aww.
E-N-E-R-G, but I'm blown away with love energy from them.
Yes,
Whoa.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
Yeah. Right?
I like what he said about God and Jesus being with us all the time.
Yeah, for sure. The trick is to
Keep going.
REMEMRONICAH, right? THER.
Musso.
He's still right there. We, JUS, just TUNE, tuned OUT. We just tuned out.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Another question for you, Matteo. Do you feel like you are sometimes standing with 1 foot in heaven and 1 foot on earth?
Keep going.
HAHA. Ha ha. THATVI. That's a fun way to think about believing. T, the truth, I is THA, that,
Why do we all look the same?
that HEAATIV, uncooperative, VESSEL,
Keep going.
uncooperative vessels.
Wow. So true, such wisdom. You mentioned in one of your videos before an audience that you could see people's hearts. Are you also clairvoyant, which means that you can see things that are going to happen in the future?
Why? Unfortunately or fortunately, man's free will affects future events.
Right. Wow. And then also about auras. You talk about seeing auras. Is
Well,
that
he sees hearts for sure.
right? That's what he said. He sees
Is it
hearts.
heart energy expanding or
Want to go on
any
about that?
colors or anything? Or how do you sense the hearts?
AUC. Auras rock.
Okay.
E. And I see all of them.
Wow.
Cool.
CATIO. Especially when a teacher is demanding your attention.
From reading your book, Handbook of Us, we know you enjoy receiving body-centered therapies. Has Jesus taught you laying on of hands so you can also transmit energy? He's reading it off the teleprompter.
REND. Really, energy doesn't require hands.
Okay, that's true.
A. Only love and shifa, which means miraculous healing. Shifa.
Wow.
Okay, so we have that happening in the future. Possibly.
That's great. So Matteo, do you think we could ask you a couple questions of Jesus?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Is Jesus planning a return to Earth in a single human form? Or might perhaps he be looking for a rebirth as being formed within us as part of our own nature, as Paul says in the Bible?
WELL. Well, then we know we sit back and take a
Well,
sip of water. Well,
Time is sugar.
recognize. HI. Recognize him. If he's, who'd recognize him as Jesus? MOREA. More likely to be arrested for disturbing the peace. Good
Yes,
point.
which has probably happened.
God is more clever than that. THA, that, FR, free, WIL, will, THIN. Back to that free will thing. That's,
Yes,
that's kind of a cool point.
That's really cool. Well, which leads me to the next question I have, is that our planet seems to be in trouble, and there's so much anger and hate, and the weather seems to be out of control with devastation and havoc from hurricanes and floods, not to mention the massive earthquakes that are happening all over this world. Are we truly at the end of times, or can Jesus boost our faith in a higher power just a little bit?
You can make sure she did it right. M.I.
Miracles.
Miracles.
Each day.
Go ahead. D-I-S-A-S-T-E-R-S. Angels always show up to comfort the afflicted.
Keep going.
H-E-R. Are here to H-E-L. Help. That's why I'm taking this show on the road.
Fantastic. We're so glad you brought it here to Maui.
Absolutely.
This is a miracle, truly.
Well, for us as
Fantastic.
well. So.
If there was one central message you could give our viewers from either you or from Jesus, what would that be?
S. These T-W. These two I-S-S-U-E issues. N-K. Thinks. I-It. D-O-E-S. And doesn't. N-E-A-I-G-H-T. And materialism prevents us from setting our priorities straight.
Wow, that is so profound. Thank you so much,
Indeed.
Matteo.
Thanks.
We're going to shift gears and talk to Annette now. So talk to us about both the challenges and the blessings of having an autistic child.
Okay.
Big
How long is
topic.
the show? No,
I know.
So many of both. So
Yeah.
many of both. And the journey that we have been on has just been crazy. I talk about this to a lot of parents with Matteo right there. The thing that parents don't realize, that I didn't realize, that my husband Mark didn't realize, is that these kids are hearing and seeing our hearts through the entire process.
Wow.
So, you know, you're given a diagnosis of autism, and the doctor or psychologist or school professional comes and they have this heavy heart and they're like, "We're so sorry your child has autism." And then all of a sudden we match them. We're like, "What?" You know, and it's just this whole downer
Right.
thing. I was told that maybe someday Matteo can even live on his own in a group home or in an apartment for special needs people. Maybe he can even get a job, you know, doing some repetitive activity that they're so focused on. No one told me that maybe he's going to publish a book at age 12.
Right, exactly.
Where's that, right?
Right,
So,
right.
so we get this diagnosis delivered, and Matteo has shared before. It's like, let's call autism what it is, and call other stuff what it is. So a parent who may be watching this will go, "Sure, he's not banging his head against the wall. You can talk about the joys of having an autistic
Right.
child." But Matteo made a comment a couple weeks ago. He's like, the head banging isn't autism. It's something else that's going on. It's a headache. And since the
Right.
autism doesn't allow them to have access to language all the time to express themselves, that's how they're trying to self-medicate, or they're trying to get the point across that
Right.
something's going on.
Right.
But I think people have this big fear of the word autism because so much is lumped into it, and that's what happens at the beginning of a journey. And that's something that I personally am out to change, is encourage people to deliver the news in a different manner, because that starts the journey of the family.
Absolutely.
And it determines the way that parents see their kids, because this is a medical professional seeing your
Right,
child in a certain
right.
way. So yeah,
Right.
you're gonna respect what they say, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's just it doesn't have to be like that, and a diagnosis doesn't have to. It changes your life, and there's no doubt about it, and it's not easy.
Right.
And your priorities change very fast.
Yeah, for sure.
But is that always a bad thing?
Right.
Maybe they weren't headed the right direction in the
That's
first
right,
place. And so and through the whole process of our journey together and everything that we tried to help him. Because believe me, 3
Right.
years ago, he wasn't sitting here,
Right.
you know, interviewing with you guys.
Absolutely.
And even before the show started, you know, he was pacing and he needs to do his movements that he needs.
Right.
But he went through his phases of screaming and his, as he says in the book, his favorite place to teach me was right inside Whole Foods
That's
with
right.
the door opening and closing.
Exactly.
Welcome to Whole Foods. I'm going to sit here for 45 minutes and scream bloody murder, and no one's going to be able to help me.
That's right.
Right? And
That's
so
right.
until I finally got over the fact that everyone's staring at us and Child Protective Services could have been called,
Right.
I mean, this is a big deal in
Right.
this society today. So a parent gets all
Absolutely.
the anxiety, which they feel all the time, right? And so,
Absolutely.
but I had to learn that I'm just going to plop down on the floor and sit with them.
Well, I think I heard you, we were at an event a few days ago, and you
Yeah.
mentioned this, you know, that one of the biggest things you've learned for yourself is not to worry about what other people think about you.
Yeah, I don't
and
even
that's been
see
such
them.
a gift.
Yeah,
That's such a gift for you to just be you, because I think all of us try to be something that we're really not.
Right.
So just to be you is brilliant.
Yeah, it's just,
So.
it's so freeing.
Yeah.
I didn't see those last few times that
Right.
he did that in Whole Foods. I didn't even see anybody else.
Right.
You know, when people drop little pieces of paper, try this therapy, and here's a doctor that can help, and I mean, it's
Oh,
crazy,
that's
and you know,
funny.
people want to help, and I'm just holding
Yeah,
and
you're
going,
just
"You're safe,
holding
buddy.
it.
I'm right
Yeah.
here. You're safe. You're
Right.
You're fine. You let it out." Because he has explained it's energy bottled up. It's
Right.
got to come out, and the more we try to
Keep it in.
squish it, the bigger it's going to blow up next time.
Absolutely.
Right?
When did you realize that Matteo was different? Yes, that's for a question.
That's funny. Well, when he was an infant, he was developing neurotypically until about at 17 months of age, and then Matteo started his transformation into autism, which took 3 months. And I suppose it maybe didn't even take that long, but other people were noticing it more than Mark and I were noticing it. And no one likes to be told what they're seeing about your
Right.
own child. So there's that friction, and
Exactly.
it's so prevalent. It's
Just
so
denial.
prevalent.
No,
Well,
it's not happening. No.
exactly. And because there's such a fear there, there's such a
Right.
fear. And autism isn't something that we can control, or that we can go to a doctor and there's, oh, he has autism, well, this is what you do. And everything is gonna be better. It's not, we have a saying in the autism world, if you met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that could go for any of us too, right?
Absolutely. So when you started seeing this transformation, did you have faith, or I mean, you know, talk to me about how did you keep your faith during this, if you had it in the first place? I don't know.
Well, I was raised in a Christian family, and so it's just a part of who I am
Right.
always, you
Right.
know. But it wasn't something necessarily that I put a lot of time in
Yeah.
into reading the Bible or studying or taking 5 minutes to pray, maybe a
Right.
minute. But now I lay me down to sleep, type of thing, and thanks for the grub,
You're
rub-a-dub-dub, right, whatever. The heart was there.
That's
the time
right.
just
That's
wasn't.
right.
So, but I'm trying to think back. I guess I lost it for a while because when your life is turned upside down, especially with the health of a child and the financial stress that comes along with trying to acquire services that will help, anything that's worked for us has basically been private pay. It's out of the mainstream. It's
Right.
not funded, and
You found it
so
yourself after a lot of hard work and
yeah, and fundraisers
begging
and
people to show up to
Absolutely.
your house and
Yep.
please come, and
That's right.
they're all backed up and can't see you till 3 months. And
right, exactly.
So frustrating at the same time.
Right, and so you kind of get lost in
Right.
this whirlwind of acquiring services, and I didn't even think to, hey, please God, let this therapist show up. I mean, I was too busy on the phone.
Right,
I'm going to handle
right.
this. That's the ego part,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so it wasn't really until he started talking or communicating with us on the letterboard, that it was this renewed. Again, it was always there in the background. I kept going to church, but it was. This is just like on steroids type
Yeah.
of situation. I mean,
Yeah, this is truly miracles. I mean, Matteo, you're a miracle, truly. You are.
yeah, and every day there's another learning that takes place.
Yes.
With me, with him, with my husband. I mean, it just never stops. It's like every day I wake up and then just excited to greet the day. It's like
Yeah.
I haven't lived like this ever
Wow.
in my life.
That's amazing.
Ever.
That segues into the next questions. Once you discovered this way for Matteo to communicate, how long did it take to find out about his Jesus connection?
Oh my gosh.
So that must have been a little bit of a surprise, given that
uh-oh.
you weren't super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, again, I dragged him to church and
Yeah.
even left him there by accident once when when I thought I had him, or I thought my husband had him, and he thought I picked him up from daycare. But that's not. You can edit that out. What was the question?
Let's see. It went
Was
forward.
how long did it take you to find out the Jesus connection?
Oh, with Matteo, yeah. Not very long. He started, let's see, the third day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like,
And you're like, shockaroo.
but he
uh-oh.
wasn't talking, he wasn't using the name Jesus or the name God. He was saying energy this, energy that.
Oh, okay.
Energy wants me to not tell you this right now. Energy wants you to think about it, and then I'll tell you the real answer later. What?
Maybe he was just
Energy.
priming you a little bit. It's like, it might have been a bit too heavy at that point.
Oh yeah, he said I know.
He was protecting you.
I know so many things, but you're not ready. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right. That's hilarious.
Okay.
After all this time and not communicating, now I can't really say anything right away.
come on, stay up till 3 in the morning and talk to me.
Tell me. I want to
That
know.
is great.
Yeah, so it was about I would say 6 months into it. You could see it start coming out in his poetry because he would sneak. But again, it was energy, energy, energy.
Right.
And then, you know, sweetie, what is?
He was sneaky.
You're talking about energy as a personal pronoun,
Right.
With a
and
capital E.
yeah. Well, they're all capitals. That made it hard.
All capitals.
But you know, until he said, "Mom, God is energy."
Right. Right.
Right? Duh. I know. Here it comes.
Wow, you're good at that.
You got it.
There's been a lot of
Wake up.
those going
But I
on.
know,
Wake
and we
up.
talked about again at this event we were at the other day, that when you start putting names on things, then it becomes something else. So I'm curious, you know.
Well, he's the one that.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear from him? on
Yeah,
that one?
yeah. So Matteo,
Okay.
what do you think about putting God on energy, the name God?
God started separating things. B by J U D G S. We choose. T H A T. That's C A U S E. Caused. E L I G I N. Different religions. B A S E G. Extremists are from man's ego.
Right.
Amazing.
Wow. How has Matteo's decision to embrace the path of becoming a spiritual teacher and motivational speaker affected you? This kid's got a huge future. Or this young man. Back up.
Yeah. It's just made my life the biggest surprising joy that could ever have happened. I mean, I had a job that I enjoyed for 21 years, but it did involve dealing with traffic in the Bay Area. And guess what? I don't have to do it anymore. Yay! As wonderful as it was, it did serve its purpose, and but it doesn't have anything to do with this. And I'm not a public speaker, and so when Matteo asked me, "Mom, come and will you help me?" He has a way of asking where you can't say no. You just can't. He's got that right. You got that down?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so innocent and simple. It's like, you're not going to be nervous. Why? God's got this. Why would you, really, why would you even worry about it? So it's as plain and simple as that. It's
Right.
like, Mom, I can tell you're acting weird. Why, what? And then he just puts it in perspective and it goes away. So I'm getting this training from my own little, like, I don't know, mini Buddha or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly, right.
Right? Just little reminders all day long, and it's really changed who I am and how I see the world, really. And it's so much better than fighting and fighting for services and getting mad that they want to put this label or that label. When you don't care about that stuff anymore, and you know in your heart what your child is about, then it doesn't matter what everybody else
Exactly.
thinks about him.
Well,
Yeah, it
since
feels-
he's homeschooled, does the school system have you do lesson plans or?
We have an independent study.
Oh, cool.
We crafted this beautifully, and we're lucky enough to be able to accomplish this. So no, school is a conundrum for us.
Right.
He's just all over the board. I gotta have tutors for this and that, and math I couldn't even begin to help him with. And the other thing is he doesn't prove his work. He just knows it. So
Right.
what do you do with
Exactly.
that? And you that makes it difficult to go through a traditional education.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's like, this is the calculus answer.
Here's the answer.
What do I need to prove
Why do
that?
I need to do a
That's just a
formula? 'Cause
waste of
this is what it is.
time. And I try to have these discussions about, step by step. It's like, but I've got other things to do, basically, is the response.
Right. That's
Well,
right.
he's got a direct knowing capability.
Yeah.
Basically, if
Yeah.
you directly know and you're directly intelligent,
Right.
then
What do you what to do with that gift? Is STI still A M Y S T E R. What to do with that gift is still a mystery.
Oh, that's great. Well, it sounds like you just have to go with the flow of,
Yeah.
where it's all taking you. And it's brought you to Maui. So what do you love about Maui?
Hey, there's worse places they have to go, right?
That's right.
And even while we're here, it's an education. I mean, the rainbow picture that I shared with you.
Yes.
I mean, there was a lime green stripe
Oh,
on
right.
this rainbow
That's
after
right.
the indigo one. I'm like, what the heck is going on with that? That doesn't
Yes.
fit in the physics.
Yeah, tell us again
Well,
about, because you shared with me that you got a gift as soon as you arrived here on Maui.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we've been talking with people for 2 years, right? And there are a lot of churches that we've spoken at, but they've all been very connected. We're really connected with these churches, and so it's going to be an audience that's going to welcome him, and right, as opposed to going to maybe a place that no one knows us, and you're going to start talking about some different ways of looking at your beliefs about God and Jesus
Right,
and
right.
Christ and all this stuff, and people can get very defensive because that's not their way, and on we go, right?
Right.
So this is really his first public display, if you will, of answering these types of questions. And a dear friend of ours in Minnesota, who is a pastor,
Bless you.
has expressed concern about this coming out at a young age, right? And so I'm like, I talked to him about it. He said, oh, God's got it. No big deal. God's got it. The time is now. And then you guys offer us to be on this show.
Yes.
And it was crazy timing. Okay, so, but 2 days before we came, I got this message that I'm still a little concerned. And I'm like, okay, am I the worst mother on the planet now? Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this, blah, blah, blah. So we get here, and that rainbow greeted us. I mean, it was magnificent.
Spectacular. Yes.
And I'm like, there you go.
That's right.
I don't have to worry about
God's
it. So that's
gotcha.
the story. It's not only how beautiful that was, but because of my state of mind, my minutes of doubting
Right.
or fear or whatever crept in, it still does that, believe me, then you get the answer.
That's
And
beautiful.
so, but I could have just said, wow, that's a pretty rainbow. Maui's cool.
That's right. Yeah,
That's
no,
true.
you
Or-
have to see the
or
see
see
the
it in
connection.
context,
right?
That's right.
So
I love
that's-
it that it's a sign.
That's what he shared so much.
I love it.
Yeah.
I know. Oh my gosh. And I was reading your book, and I just have to say it's so similar to the work that I do because I channel messages from God and the angels, and it's just pure love. That's all they tell me all the time. So
Yeah.
it was such a confirmation for me to get another perspective. And so Matteo, thank you for writing your book because it's just such a blessing.
Lisa. How?
Have you read it, Eric?
Yes, I read it too.
Yes,
I read it before I gave
that's
it to
right.
Lisa.
He read it first and then gave it to
And
me.
Lisa took it on a trip, and then she came back, and then she read it real fast.
Yeah,
last
I read
night.
it. Yeah, I was like, oh, I've got to read this.
Oh, that's great.
That
But it was
really
so
cool.
beautiful. But I was so blessed to attend a presentation that you put together for the Maui Autism Center. And Matteo wrote a letter that he sensed angels were present at the end of it. I also felt them there. And does Matteo talk about angels often?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time. Okay, can I tell the airplane story?
Yes.
Okay, so we're flying back from Minnesota, and there was a storm. I'm not a great flyer. I have to do it a lot, but it's not my favorite thing. I've had some experiences. So anyway, we get on the plane, and it's storming outside, and I'm supposed to be the calm one because, you know, my child, I'm not a turbulence purveyor of turbulence at all. So anyway, we're sitting on the plane, and it starts, you know, getting rocky right at the beginning, and I'm trying not to be tense, and so we're having on the airplane. I spell to him, and then he spells back, so we're not having these
yeah,
conversations
right.
in front of everybody. So it's very private, and he said, "Mom, why are you," something like, "Mom, why are you nervous?" I said, "Me? I'm not nervous." I'm not nervous, as we're like dropping.
Right.
And he goes, "Yeah, right." He
As you're white knuckling the other.
exactly.
I'm not nervous.
He goes, "Can't you see the angel on the wing?"
Oh.
Wow.
And I said, "There's an angel out there?" And he goes, "Yeah, are you telling me you can't see him?"
Wow.
And I said, "Is he big?" He goes, "Yeah, he's big." So,
That's so cool.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So now, because you just have to ask him to stop making
Yeah.
the turbulence. And I swear, every time.
Yep. Isn't it amazing?
stops.
I know.
It
Yeah,
stops.
you just have to ask.
And now I just know that they're there all the time. Although for fun, I'll say, "Psst, you see any angels on the wing?" before the takeoff. It's like, really, Mom? So it's fun. We have fun with it.
What are the biggest misconceptions you'd like for people to understand about autism, your son, and the special nature that he has?
Oh, wow. The biggest misconception. Okay, so, well,
I can prompt you.
I'll
Assume intelligence.
Yeah, well, that's Matteo's his mantra, his thing, as other people too. Soma Makapati, who started this, she's, you know, not only assuming intelligence, but assume comprehension, and, you know, and their ability to comprehend and understand and process the information. So competence would be the word. So that's number one. Number two is that we spend so much time making judgments about people. And we don't mean to do it. This is just the nature of people by what we see, right? And one of the challenges with autism is that you can't look at somebody and know that they have autism. You can look at some other issues and know that people have challenges, some other types of conditions, and you can see blatantly with your eyes that there's something, and all of a sudden there's a compassion switch that gets turned on by people. You know, if someone, you know, if someone could see the autistic brain, I believe the compassion button would go on a heck of a lot faster.
Right.
Because often it doesn't go on for us. It doesn't go on for us at the grocery store. It doesn't go on for us in the parking lot when you've got a screaming child. It doesn't go on for us necessarily at the doctor's office all the time.
Right.
It doesn't, it's a whole different experience. And the judgments are just flying. And we speak in church once a year, this mission moment during April Autism Awareness Month. And it's the message, and often the people from the church that come up and they go, thank you so much for talking about that grocery store judgment, because if a kid is screaming, I want this, I want this, I want this, we go, get your kid under control,
Right.
right? And we just start on this roll, and we don't even know we're doing it till it's already happened. But there is a
Exactly.
huge judgment and energy that's coming off, and what happens with our kids, since they're so sensitive to it, it makes it all the
right.
worse.
It makes
It's just
it
like
worse.
this
So
red energy is
what would
bouncing.
be best? I mean, I love your
So-
idea. If you see something happening, and you're not the person involved, just an open heart, sending love. Or,
Absolutely. And if I was going to be walking by somebody, I would just say, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath, right? And or smile.
Yeah.
Just smile.
Right.
Because it's not always an out of control child
No.
that is
Right.
doing this on purpose to get what they want. This is more often than not, and this goes for even homeless people
Yeah.
that are judged as drunk or on drugs when they're talking to themselves. I have a whole different viewpoint on that now too.
Absolutely.
And how many of those are autistic? And they could be talking to God walking down the street, and we're
Absolutely.
judging them as,
Yeah.
on drugs.
Well,
I mean, how
as Matteo
crazy
said,
is this?
they've probably been locked up.
They're having their own conversation.
That's right.
We
That's
have a
right.
homeless guy on Maui that walks around in trash bags, and I just think this guy is a holy person. I've never had a conversation with him, but I just think that he's like a holy person. I don't think of him as like a homeless
Yeah.
Right.
weirdo.
Yeah.
It's just weird when you change your perspective on that.
It's
then
absolutely, and
It's totally.
it's so refreshing to try not to judge or to catch yourself, and then let yourself catch yourself,
Right. Yeah.
and then admit to yourself, hey, I was doing that.
Right, the awareness. I think it's the
Yeah.
awareness, and again, looking at each other as a soul, as opposed to judging that person, whatever's happening. Just
Yeah.
view them as that loving soul they are.
All right.
He's
REALL. Really, GO. God puts every person in your path every day. From what will you choose to learn from them?
Beautiful.
You can be
Wow.
busy
Dang,
all
man,
day long.
So full with all these simple truths. It's like so
Absolutely.
obviously true, and it's like, duh. Gee, thanks, Matteo. It's like,
Yeah.
why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, but yeah,
It's so obvious, but
yeah.
why do we lose all that?
Well, we make it
Why
so
have we
complicated.
lost so much of that
right.
in
And
our society?
he, the other thing that, in answer to your question before, what I want people to know about Matteo is, I mean, sometimes a lot of times people are just like, oh, he's autistic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm
the
like, if you
pity.
had any clue
Right.
how amazing my life is, but then,
Oh God!
you know,
it
that
just
person.
flipped over totally to the positive from the negative.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
like so far in the other direction. It's like, what a huge blessing.
Right, but that's
this
not the
has been.
perception. It's not the perception. And believe me, the families that are home struggling with the screaming and the head banging, and that is a whole different experience. It's not like we didn't have our own issues, because
Right.
we did. And I was up many nights trying to figure out a way to console him and not knowing what's wrong. And it's the most helpless situation that a parent can possibly feel. And so
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to paint autism as this beautiful, lovely,
You're right.
welcome it. Everyone should want to have an autistic child. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we are given our kids,
That's
every
right.
single one of us, for
That's right.
for a reason, and it's our job and our joy to try to help them be as comfortable in this life and productive and help them lead a meaningful life, whatever that looks like. And just because mine doesn't look like my next door neighbor's or my friends, it doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It's just that I'm on a different
It's a
path.
completely different path.
That's right.
And we each make our own.
That's right.
And you're on it, so what are you going to do with it?
That's
is
right.
the question.
That's the question. Well, and I love it because you've started a nonprofit organization. So tell us what its purpose is and what you're up to in the next year or so.
Yeah, so we are on a roll. It's I had a huge vision in 2011 when I started the organization, and because I was driving all over the Bay Area getting services for my son. So the speech therapist over here and the music therapist was there and someone else was there, and it was so much time on the road. I wanted one place where, as a one-stop shop.
That's
It's a dream
great.
of many, many parents. But I opened and closed 3 centers due to lack of funding. And it was just too much work. And meanwhile, he was, needing me, and yet I was trying to do this as a place for him to go, but also for other kids to be able to come. And so finally, after Matteo started sharing with us on the letterboard, the Creative Autism Solutions team has taken a different twist. It has become a platform, if you will, for Matteo to get his message out and reach as many people as possible, because his message, I think, is so full of hope for families, and he can be a voice for those that have not found their way of getting their thoughts out into the world. And I swear, when we do these talks like you were at the other day, Lisa, there are autistic people in the audience, and they
were riveted.
They are, as he said, they're his cheerleaders, and they're going, thank you for speaking. Matteo doesn't claim to talk for all of them, and nor does he claim that all of them have this special connection with God or whatever. A lot of them are saying this, no matter what the family background is, and it's pretty interesting.
So it's at creativeautismsolutions.org? Creative
Autism Solutions team. Yeah, on MatteoMusso.com, there's the link to Creative Autism Solutions team.
Okay,
so that's the only
so
one you have to remember is
MatteoMusso.com.
Yeah. So CAST is now the platform for Matteo to get his message out. So the publication of the books he's writing, a place to raise money so we can come and do these types of events, like we did at the Maui Autism Center.
Absolutely. And there was such great interest. They were really saying, we want you to come back, we want you to come back. So there's such a need for that. So it's really good to...
And we never want money to be an issue for him to inspire.
Absolutely.
If that's what we can do, we just don't want money to be an issue, because that's not what it's about.
Right.
So, but yet we need it to get
I
on the
know.
plane and go to do these things in person.
You need gas money to get back to Kapalua.
Yeah. And we do a lot in schools, and we do a lot. Bullying is a huge issue, and I'm proud of Matteo for being brave enough to talk to his peers about their eyes are like this, because they all have autistic, kids in their classes now, since the rate is 1 in 54 kids, and when you break it down to 4 out of 5 being boys, it's about 1 in 38 boys now in America being diagnosed. So there's 1 in every classroom, just about, at least. So we made these bands. Acceptance is the new cool. These are all Matteo's sayings. Another one is let's believe in everyone. This is one of my favorites. I'm different, just like you.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
We're all different.
We're all
from
different.
each other.
That's right.
And what was the other one? Let's believe in everyone. Yeah. Anyway, so CAST is the platform where you'll find all this stuff. MatteoMusso.com, and we do Skype sessions with people or schools that don't have a means to get us out there, and unfortunately we don't have the means to get us out there. So we'll do it on Skype. It's not the same.
That's right.
As doing it in person, but we'll take what we can get right at this point. So
that's great.
That's why being on your show is such a blessing, and we really appreciate it. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about Matteo's next book?
Do you want to?
Yes.
CREASI is not decreasing.
Wow.
I mentioned that we talk at church once a year, and one of the talks that we did was, if you look at all the characteristics of autism and expand it to the world, what could the lesson be for us? And speech, for example. And Matteo says this all the time.
Relax.
What's up with, why is speech so important?
Right.
People misuse words all the time. So they say things, people say things they never intend to do. They say they'll be there and they don't show up. They say they love you, but they really don't. They say all these, they hurt people with words. They call names, they swear, they do all these things with language that, so why is everyone so in love with them? Right? So that's one of his,
I love that.
that's one of his
So
platforms.
true.
So there's
Yeah.
a lesson there. Kids with autism have a hard time with speech. So let's apply it. What if that is one of God's things he wants us to think about? A lot of our kids have intestinal issues and need to be on special diets. Okay, they need organic farming, they need all this stuff. So broaden that. What's
Right.
that telling us about the world? Right? Healthy, our diets aren't healthy anymore. We're not even eating real food half the time. All this
Exactly.
stuff, right?
Absolutely right. There's no nutrients in our food.
Right. Let's talk about why the sensory processing is so hard sometimes. The lights and the sounds and the fast pace that everybody's going. It's hard for them to process. They get
Right.
very anxious about it.
So maybe we all need to slow
But
down.
don't we get anxious about
That's
it?
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't we? I mean, it's like, yeah. So you take every aspect and break it down, and we learn from it.
That's amazing.
And so that is the crux of his book.
And I'm curious about the immunization thing. I don't want to make a big controversy, but is there any, Matteo, do you have any thoughts about the immunization? Is that the cause, or?
Well,
I love how he starts off.
TALY. So shots were my catalyst. But not necessarily everyone's.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Matteo, it's been such a blessing to have you here. Do you have any final words of wisdom you want to share with us?
Yep.
WELL. Well, I is in. Unwrap it and see what surprise is in there. SOMOM. Some.
Keep going.
YOUL. But those are often the biggest gifts of all.
That's great.
Sure.
They, hang with me, baby. LE. They can be disguised at first as problems. T. But God only gives gifts.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Well, I know we had some angels in here today. We'd like to thank Matteo and Annette for sharing their amazing experiences with us and our viewers. There are many more adventures to come. Be sure to check the credits if you'd like to get in touch with any of us.
Until next time, from all of us, a big
Aloha!
You say it?
Hello.
All right!